And we are rolling. Hey guys, it's your buddy Jake Dominguez back with a TV show review, an animated cartoon review to be exact. Now, if you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you guys know I've been doing reviews of movies and some anime, but I want to start doing some reviews of animated shows as well. If you guys know me, you know that I'm a huge fan of animation, and I have such great admiration for animators in the industry in general, especially a traditional 2D hand-drawn animation in particular. And there's no better way, I think, to start out with a review of Netflix's new animated show, Castlevania. So let's talk about it. So Castlevania is an adaptation of the Konami iconic video game series, and it tells the story of, well, the story begins off with Dracula, or what we know as Dracula, and well, basically, he gets married to this one girl who wishes to meet him so she can figure out how to do different medicine and stuff like that, and everything's great. But one day, when he's gone, the church leaders of this village, of this city that they live in, or this kingdom, I'm forgetting the kingdom's names now, takes her and finds all this medicine and, potion stuff in their house, and they falsely accuse her of witchcraft, and they burn her at the stake. Yeah, pretty uncool. And because of this, Dracula is understandably very, very angry, and he decides to get his revenge. And he starts destroying and pretty much committing genocide against the entire kingdom. It's at this point in the story where our hero, or anti-hero, whatever you want to call him, our main character, Trevor Belmont, is brought into the story. And he gets really caught up in the events of this kingdom that he doesn't necessarily really want to, but he gets caught up, and that's where our story begins and where all these adventures begin. Now, that's the basic story of this Castlevania TV show, and before I continue my review, I gotta warn you all here. I do not know anything about the Castlevania video games, really. I'm really unfamiliar with them. I'm not that familiar with all the canon. I haven't played all the games. I'm really, if any of them, and especially recently, so I'm not really a huge mega fan going into this show. I'm very much a novice. So there's probably lots of details on that sort of thing that I'm not getting as someone who's not a huge fan of these games, of this franchise. I've always known about Castlevania, and I respect it for its place in history. It's obviously an iconic video game series. But I'm really not that familiar with the games, especially going into it. After watching the show, I've gone online to figure out, oh, this character is that character and that sort of thing, but I'm pretty unfamiliar with the show, and I've never played the primary game that this show is based on. It's primarily based on Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, I believe it's called, and it's primarily based on that. I haven't played it, so I'm going into this just enjoying it for the story, for the characters, just enjoying it for the show that it is. Now, the primary producer of this show is, I'm going to try to say his name correctly, I hope I'm saying this right, Adi Shankar. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly. Adi Shankar. He is most known for producing a lot of awesome fan films, including the infamous Power Rangers fan film that Joseph Kahn directed. That was super rated R. He also directed, I think it was called the Bootleg Universe or something like that. He directed or produced all these short films that were just fan films based on superheroes. There was a Punisher one that Thomas Jane was in, and he produced an incredible one called, I think it was called Truth in Journalism, that Joe Lynch directed. That was a Venom fan film. It was one of the best fan films I've ever seen. Go check it out. I'm sure they're all online, but he's produced a lot of cool stuff. It's primarily produced by him. Warren Ellis, the comic book writer, primarily wrote this show, and it's directed, or credited as the director, is Sam Deats. I have it written down here. I'm looking at reading. So, there we go. There obviously is some great talent coming in to produce this cartoon, this animated series. And I really did not have any expectations other than, let's see what this is. So, how is this show? It's good. In fact, it's surprisingly really good. In fact, I've done a lot of thinking. This is probably the best adaptation of a video game that's ever been put to just film or TV or anything. That's not saying a lot, but it's true. You can tell that this isn't just a cash grab for these filmmakers. They actually care about this series. And they actually wanted to tell a good, compelling story. Castlevania is only 4 episodes long. You can watch it just like that. And for what it is, it's really pretty good. It's mature, it's well done, I was into the story, I wanted to learn more about these characters, and it makes me want to see another season. I think that calls a successful TV show, for sure. Now, this show is beautifully animated. And it's done with, again, traditional hand-drawn animation, which is awesome. Especially here in America, we don't see that as much, especially for something like this. But it is so beautifully done. All the animation is really well done, and the animation design and the backgrounds of all of that, oh, it's incredible. This show is beautiful to look at. It's incredible visuals, for sure. And the fights, oh my gosh. All the fights are incredible. They were so well done. I loved watching them. This show also has really good music and production value, and everything about it is extremely well done. To the eyes and to the ears. It's also incredibly mature. This is definitely for adults. It's rated M for mature, and oh my gosh, it definitely pushes it to the limit. This show is incredibly violent. It's incredibly gory, and yeah, I'm a little afraid that little kids are going to be watching all the cartoons on Netflix are eventually going to watch this and be scarred for life. That's probably already happened by this point, for better or worse, but this show is definitely made for adults. And it's also very thematically mature as well. A primary theme in this animated series is that of religion, and of how people use religion for evil purposes. The primary villains in this show, even more so than Dracula in its weird way, are the church leaders and how they're they're corrupt and they're using evil and they're oppressing people. All this is really their fault. And it works incredibly well. There's all sorts of great religious metaphors and stuff like this in this show. There's kind of a theme of they're trying to find a savior. I don't want to get too spoilery, but they're trying to find what they call a messiah or a savior who will come and save them from this. Trevor Belmont knows it's not him, so he's trying to find who that is, and it's kind of a theme of like a false savior kind of thing going on. I don't know, I probably shouldn't have brought that up because it's hard to describe without going too much into the plot, but that's primarily what they want, what the people want Trevor Belmont to do, and it works incredibly well. It is very weighty, and it handles it, again, pretty well. Is it pretty on the nose? Yeah, it is. I mean, they're not trying to be very... What's the word I'm looking for? They're not trying to be very... not on the nose with it. It is very on the nose, but it works. It works incredibly well. And the whole show, with its very dark, atmospheric feel, makes it a pretty compelling watch for an adult. It's great to watch an animated show that is meant for mature audiences. And the whole thing does feel very over the top in how mature it is. Some of the violence and the gore, it really caught me off guard at first. There's sometimes where I was literally just like, because of how gory it is. And it does feel like it's maybe shoving it in your face a little too much at times, just in how R-rated it is. Maybe it's a little too over the top for its own good, but if you're a fan of the video games and if you're just going in, I don't think most people are going to have too much of a complaint about that because it is pretty awesome and it is great to see. All the voice acting is pretty darn good as well. I'm forgetting his name right now. It's Richard something. He played Thorin in the Hobbit movies and he's done lots of other stuff as well. But he's the main voice actor for the main character, Trevor Belmont. He does incredibly well as well. The actor who plays Dracula is really awesome. All these people are down in the description below. I'm forgetting their names right now. But he is also really awesome. And the whole show is incredibly entertaining. It's scary, it's disturbing, it's thought-provoking, and most of all, it's just action-packed. So it's a pretty awesome watch, even for 4 short episodes. And I really enjoyed watching it. Again, I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed watching it. It's a very nice surprise. It's just beautiful and incredibly entertaining. As far as flaws with Castlevania, I guess my biggest flaw is that, again, it's only 4 episodes long. And I left wanting more. Now, I'm a firm believer in the philosophy that less is more. I totally believe that. But because it's so short and it definitely leaves on a cliffhanger and leading up to a second season, it is a little guilty of feeling like a story without an ending. Does that make sense? Like it sets up all these things, but you kind of left hanging because it's only 4 episodes long. However, I'm mostly okay with it because it's the setup. I feel like all this 4 episodes are just based on the setup for the characters in this world. And Netflix already has called for a second season of the show, which will probably be out in 2018, and they've even doubled the episode amount, which is unheard of. It's like 8 episodes now. That's awesome. So I'm hoping we're going to get more of the continuation of this story that's satisfying enough in the second season. So I'm pretty okay with that. Also, because of how short the series is, I didn't really get to connect to the characters as much as I wanted to. Now, don't get me wrong. They're awesome. I cared about them. But again, I just wanted more of that character development and more of those character moments. It does feel like a giant setup. But again, I'm hoping the second season will give us a lot more of that. So those are my biggest criticisms of the show, but really that's not much. This show is pretty darn awesome. As someone who is not a fan of Castlevania, I really enjoyed it. I can only imagine how much mega fans of this iconic, totally popular series are feeling about this show because it's really darn good. I would definitely recommend checking out Castlevania if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. It's not for the faint of heart. If you're not a fan of gore and dark themes like this, you may not enjoy it, but for what it is, I thought it handled it extremely well. Now, usually when I review a movie or an anime or something like that, I give it a grading of like F to A plus or whatever. I'm not sure if I want to do that for the animated series. The problem is, I haven't really thought of a new ranking system for it all, so I gotta think about that. I might just have it be like a rating of like watch it or don't watch it or whatever. I don't know. I guess if I had to give Castlevania a grade, I'd probably give it like a B plus or somewhere around there. It is really good, but with my ranking system that I haven't invented yet, for now I'll just give it a rating of definitely watch it because it is definitely worth watching if you are a fan. So there you, or not a fan like I am. So there you go. Castlevania. It's good. Really good. What a nice surprise that is. Well, guys, that is my review of Castlevania, the brand new animated show on Netflix. Check it out. Let me know what you thought of this show down in the comments section below. And don't hesitate to give me any more recommendations for cartoons or anime or movies or whatever that you want me to review. I love doing these reviews and I appreciate you guys watching them so much. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And of course, most importantly of all, never forget that I'm your friend and I'm always going to be there for you. You guys are the greatest. Thank you so much for being my friends. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.